Welcome to the Transparent FX Academy. In this video, I'll speak about GBPUSD. And as usual, to keep the video as educational as possible, first, I'll cover the technical aspect for this market. Then we will be moving to the order flow by looking at the commitment of traders, so the COT data, which is essentially what the big players in the market are doing and how they're moving and shifting their orders, which is what you see right here. By the end of the video, by using a combination of these two different types of analysis, we will try to understand where we have the highest probabilities for the next potential move here for this pair. So this is definitely a video you do not want to miss. So without further ado, let's jump straight into it. Starting here from the monthly time frame, what we can see is that we have a market which is rejecting to the upside a quite strong historical monthly demand and support zone. In fact, what we know is that starting from back here, in multiple occasions, the market has tested this zone, and every single time the market rejected the area to the upside, showing very strong bullish price action. And every time we have seen very strong institutional buying. And we will be speaking about institutional buying in just a few moments when we move to the commitment of traders analysis to see how institutions are moving their orders. But at the moment, we have to keep in mind that the market is testing and rejecting the exact same level to the upside once more. And also that from a pattern standpoint, we have just created a very clear impulse to the upside followed by this correction. And now the market has already started continuing to the upside. So what this means is that the market is starting to establish an uptrend. And when you're seeing an uptrend, what you expect is the creation of higher highs and higher lows. So essentially impulses and corrections. So the next logical step would be after this impulse and correction to see the continuation to the upside and for the market to create yet another monthly higher high. So let's keep all of this in mind and drop down here on the weekly time frame. Now, from a weekly standpoint, the situation is quite clear. The first thing that we have to identify is the structure. Now, the easiest way to identify structure when there is a situation which is not that clear is to go on a line chart. And going on a line chart gives us the possibility to easily identify where is the previous resistance that is now turned support. Because in this case, what we will see is the closes of the market. Now, since we are on the weekly time frame, a line chart will give us the weekly closes. And so if we do that, it will be easy to identify that this level here, this angle that the market created here, this is the previous weekly resistance, which is now turned support. Now that we have identified that zone, what we can do is mark it up in an even clearer way and move back to a candles chart. And what we can see in this case is that the market, after breaking this structure to the upside, has already retested it right here with this wick, and the market has already respected this area as previous weekly resistance, which is now turned support. So let's keep also all of this in mind and drop down on the daily time frame. Now, from a daily perspective, the situation was very clear. We had the creation of this daily M pattern. Now, I spoke about M patterns in many occasions. After the creation of an M pattern, what you expect is for the market to create a rejection to the upside, to go and complete the pattern at the neckline. So at the previous resistance, turn support. Now, in this case, the previous resistance turn support is exactly here. And that is in fact exactly the level that the market has just reached. So the M pattern is now completed. And in this case, this M pattern was testing that previous weekly resistance turn support that we have just identified on the weekly time frame, making it even a higher probability that the market would want to reject that level to the upside. So monthly, weekly, and daily all seem quite clear. So what kind of price action and structure we currently have? Well, before we dig deeper into the most recent price action and structure, first let's go and see what we have when it comes to the commitment of traders. So what the big players in the market are doing. Now, first of all, if we're looking at the data for the GBP, we have to keep in mind that we are already looking at GBPUSD because all currencies on the spot are traded against the USD. And what we can see is that with the last report, net positions have been increased. We went from minus 39K net positions up to minus 25.1K net positions. So we had a clear increase of net positioning with 7,500 longs added just with the last report and 6,300 shorts getting closed. This means that institutions are increasing longs and decreasing shorts, which is quite clear because we went from having 65,000 longs from an institutional perspective to now having 81,000 longs from an institutional perspective, and shorts got decreased from 112K down to 106K. So clearly, institutions are moving back to the bullish side for the GBP, so to the bullish side for GBPUSD. Let's keep all of this in mind and move back to the chart. And by the way, if you still haven't, make sure that you join my free Telegram channel, which you find linked in the description, so you never miss new updates. Now back to the analysis. So in a situation like this, what do we have? Well, first of all, we have to identify how we do have resistance all across this level. This zone was the previous supply resistance from which all this push to the downside was created. Again, from here, all this rejection to the downside was printed. Right now, the market is facing again this exact same resistance zone. Now, until the market will remain below this level, it can easily reject to the downside. Only if the market will manage to break above this resistance, only at that point things get interesting, because a break above this resistance would make this previous resistance become support. So after the break on the retest of the previous resistance turns support, that is where there is very good probability of seeing more institutional buying, further increasing the probabilities of a potential rejection to the upside away from this level. So if the market will break and retest, what would I expect? Well, as usual, and as my students know very well, trading is reactive and not predictive. The monthly, weekly, and daily timeframes combined with the COT data, those are the best timeframes when it comes to directional aspect of the market. However, when it comes to identifying early shifts in the trend of a market, the best timeframes for that are the intraday timeframes, so 4 hour and lower. So if the market would shift here from an intraday bearish to bullish market, I wouldn't be surprised to see a potential rejection to the upside away from this area for the market to complete this daily impulse correction and impulse pattern to the upside. That definitely wouldn't surprise me. Now, all this free education and analysis that you see me share here on YouTube is actually just the tip of the iceberg. In fact, if you want to learn more, I really suggest that you go over to the Transparent FX Trading website, which you find linked in the description. And here you will have the possibility to gain access to all my courses, which range from the very basics of trading to the more advanced topics like building automated trading systems, building a portfolio of strategies, uncorrelated strategies, and much, much more using quantitative finance tools like the Quant Analyzer. So it's really something that you cannot afford to miss. You also have the possibility to gain access to my trading station software with the Telegram notifications integrations, one-on-one mentoring directly with me for any questions you have along the way, the COT data software, which you often see me use here on my YouTube videos. The program is also an all-in-one program, so you gain access to everything immediately, including all my strategies and EAs, and you also gain access to my entertaining trading show in which I share all my trades as they're happening. Here, you will see the presentation of each and every one of my strategies with the full historical backtest and presentations of the rules of the strategy. You also, as we were speaking about, have access to the live trading show. So essentially, every trade that is taken on my live account is automatically shown here in a very entertaining fashion as they're happening. So opened, closed, managed, so you can learn even more. And as you scroll down, you will see that you have the possibility to join and gain automatically access with email and password that you will create during the registration process. So again, I really suggest you go and check it out. The link is in the description, and I will see you on your student dashboard. Video, make sure that you leave a like. Also, let me know in the comments below any new pairs that you would like me to cover in my next videos. Subscribe to the channel so you never miss new updates, and I will see you in my next video.